Well, let me tell you something, brother. This might be the best OG Kush I've ever had. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. You just said a mouthful, brother. I'm higher than helicopter butt. Listen, though, Hulkster. Young Lurch has been running his mouth on that podcast. Blaze the BingoHall podcast needs to show some respect to the veterans, brother. I say we run in there and show young Lurch and his guest just exactly who the OGs of this game are, What you gonna do, Blaze the BingoHall podcast, when the Macho Man and the Hulkster run wild on you? Ooh, yeah. Give me like 10 minutes, though, because I'm really, really stoned. Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what just happened.
There he is.
Yeah, I think we took a major shit right there in the beginning. Let me see.
No big deal.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened, but we're back. Yeah, my browser
shits are healthy. Shits are healthy.
Yeah, my browser kicked me out right at the beginning, but hey, we're here, and we're joined by none other than legendary Mad Man Pondo. Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll make it work. And, I apologize to everybody. I took a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. And I figured who other than better than bring in a legendary man like himself, like Mad Man Pondo. So I appreciate you for blazing at the bingo hall with your boy Young Lurch. And sorry for leaving you hanging there like that. It said system failed, browser is kicking me out. I have no idea. So we'll see what that looks like when on the post edit, but I appreciate you.
Do they call you Lurch because you're tall and lanky, or because you're a fan of the Addams Family?
Well, actually, I do like the Addams Family, but it was a name that was given to me because I'm tall and lanky. I'm 6'6", and I'm about like 180, 190 pounds. So yeah, got that name probably a little over 10 years ago. A buddy of mine he's a rapper. He's like, and you're like Lurch, man, but you're young as shit. You're like Young Lurch, and it stuck, and that's when Instagram was first coming out. So I was like, well, that'll be my Instagram handle, and it kind of just went with me from there. But since I started this, everybody calls me Blaze. Yeah, you rang. Yep. I might have to go towards Blaze. Everybody's like, hey, Blaze. I'm like, fuck, I might be Blaze now.
Hey, man. Either way, as long as they're calling your name, that's good.
Hey, yeah, at least they remember, right?
That's
All
it.
Right, so let's go ahead and get started. For the people who may not know, who is Mad Man Pondo? Who are you really?
Man, he's a humble, laid back guy. Loves attention, loves talking to people, loves the ladies. I don't smoke, drink, do drugs, take pills, none of that. I love amusement parks, especially roller coasters. I love sporting events, demolition derbies. I mean, I'm pretty well strange, but cool to be around, I would say so.
You like the thrill seeking type of atmosphere, right?
I do. Yeah.
You get on roller coasters, Pondo? I'm not a fan.
Love roller coasters. Oh my God, yeah. I love roller coasters. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. I don't know. Maybe because I'm too tall. Maybe I'm used to being up high all the time. So when did wrestling, start to become more than a dream? When did it become a reality versus a dream for you?
I would say June 24th, 1989 was my first match. Before that, I was working at a video store in my hometown, Flora, Illinois. And in that same shopping area, right across the parking lot, there was an oil guy named Milton Smith, who was also a teacher at Only Central College. And he came over into the video store one day and he said, Pondo, I have a wrestler that comes to my class every Tuesday. And I said, oh, really? I said, can you get that guy's telephone number for me? And he said, why? Are you want to go watch his matches? And I said, no, I'm going to ask that guy how I become a professional wrestler. So somewhere in between my early 20s and my late 20s, I started the school, and June 24th, 1989, in Albion, Illinois versus the Avalanche, which later became Melvin Penrod Jr. at USWA. Mad Man Pondo had his very first match. And I've been Mad Man Pondo since day one.
So you were a big fan of wrestling before you decided to actually jump into it?
Huge fan. So I like I said, I lived in Florida, Illinois. An hour and a half to the north, an hour and a half to the west was St. Louis, Missouri. And they had wrestling at the Chase, at the Kiel Auditorium, and the Checker Dome. An hour to the south was ICW's Angelo Papo's group, which was Macho Man Randy Savage, Leaping Lanny, Crusher Broomfield, who became the one-man gang later. Hour and a half to the east was Evansville, Indiana, which had Memphis Wrestling, which was Jerry the King Lawler, Bill Dundee, Sheep Herders, Moondogs. Then 5 hours to the north was Chicago. That had everything. AWA, WCW, WWE, WWF, Windy City Wrestling, all types of. I went to Super Class 3, where the main event was Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich, and Kerry accidentally cut himself and almost bled out. I went to the first night of the Skywalker. Just all types of. Chicago just had it all. But yeah, man, and I knew that what I wanted to do. I knew my passion for professional wrestling, and that's 36 years in this damn business.
Was it family or a friend maybe that got you into it, or how did you first stumble into wrestling?
So me and all my family, like on one side of the family and the other side of the family, we used to go to my great grandma and grandpa's house for lunch, and then some of us would stay and eat dinner. And it was always a quiet atmosphere. Not quiet, but I mean, it was always family banter back and forth, some horse shit like that. But after dinner was Evansville Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling. And my great grandparents would become something that my brother and I had never seen. They'd be watching that TV screen, and there'd be like dirty motherfuckers and I can't believe them son of bitches, and me and my brother was blown away, but it was so funny to us, we couldn't help but laugh. And my parents would be like, "Hey, you guys got to stop that. The kids are right here." And they'd say, "Okay." But then 15 minutes later, something would happen. There'd be more dirty motherfuckers on that TV screen. And I do believe just the enjoyment of watching those two get so excited made me a fan. And I'm talking 7, 8 years old. So yeah, man, I've been a wrestling fan for a while. I'm 56 now.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny that, like, I guess their excitement kind of appealed to you, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on with this? I gotta figure out why are they getting so excited about it?"
I think it was how calm my family is. Like, they don't want to be center of attention, but here these two very older people are just cussing at this TV screen. I mean, it was just so funny that it made me a fan.
A way for them to let loose. Yeah.
That's it.
I was going to ask, what kind of a person were you before the ring shaped you? But I guess being that young, you've always, had the love for wrestling. So I guess at an early age, it's kind of molded you into becoming the wrestler that you are.
So I would stay at my grandma's house in Carmi, Illinois, which was maybe 40 minutes to Evansville. My grandma loved to go shopping, and I loved to go to so my hometown, we had one movie theater in the middle of it. Evansville, Indiana had multiple movie theaters that would play all the new movies. And My grandma would take me to Evansville with her. She'd drop me off at a movie theater, and then she would go shop, or she would drop me off at Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica concert, and then she would go shop, or she would drop me off at Loverboy and Dokken concert, or just anything. But every Wednesday in Evansville, there was a store that was double coupons. Snooks. It was called Snooks. And so every Wednesday, my grandma was going to Evansville, Indiana, and that was the same night as Evansville Coliseum Wrestling, which was Jerry the King Lawler, Bill Dundee, and them guys. So every Wednesday, she would get off work. We would go to Evansville. She'd drop me off at the Coliseum. She'd go and get her shopping done, and then wait for me to get done in the Coliseum. It was just like an every Wednesday thing. And but even before then, it did not matter what wrestling was in the area. I was going. There was like a little independent wrestling shows. My buddy Roy West Jr. would take me to all types of wrestling shows as long as I did good in school. So that helped me in two ways. It helped my grades stay at one level, and it helped me go and watch some of the biggest wrestling stars of today. There's a lot of people who are Bruiser Brody fans who never got to see Bruiser Brody wrestle. This motherfucker right here got to see Bruiser Brody wrestle a lot. Abdullah the Butcher. A lot of people only knew about Abdullah in the wrestling magazines. No, I would go watch Abdullah the Butcher wrestle. Just so many stars over the years. But I'll go ahead and tell you this too. My mom to this day still has this piece of paper. In our grade school, it said, draw a picture of your dream job when you get older. And kids were drawing doctors and firemen and policemen. Kiss asses were drawing teachers. Mine was the only one that had a terrible drawn wrestling ring with two stick figures going at each other. And at the top, because I had to ask my teacher how to spell it, it said, I want to be a professional wrestler.
Wow.
My mom still has that piece of paper today.
It's crazy how something like that, and then it really comes to fruition later on in life, just at a young age, Yeah. So how did you truly get your start in wrestling? Like, where did you start training? Who was it that kind of broke you in?
Like I was telling you, that oil guy, he gave me that guy's telephone number, and that guy's name was Terry Runyon, and him and another guy named Terry Rice was the Sensational Hillbillies. And the school was in Olney, Illinois. It's not only was the college, but so was the wrestling school in Olney, Illinois. And a guy named Bud Chapman was running a karate school on one side and a wrestling school on the other. And I was there. Once I joined, I was there every session. And of course, back in the day, it's not like it is today. Back in the day, they wanted to know if you was going to make it as a professional wrestler, if your heart was in it. So you would get your shit kicked in weekend after weekend after weekend. I would drive home with taste some blood in my mouth or feeling my eyes swell up, all types of shit. But after each training session, I always shook everybody's hand, said, hey, thank you, and was back on time every week. So after a while, they either realized that I wasn't going anywhere or got tired of beating on me one. So, yeah, man, only Illinois.
A lot different than how some people break in today, where they have no idea that type of, reality that guys like you went through back in the day, where they literally tested your toughness to see if you are going to come back and how bad you really want it.
100% true. True statement right there.
Do you think that those guys did they give you any real opportunities in the beginning, or do you remember when you first got I guess a breakout opportunity that kind of changed your path?
Yeah. Them guys pretty well just kicked the living shit out of me the whole time.
Yeah.
Every match. And I understood, but there was this one guy that everybody was afraid of. And his name was Ray Frambro. And he went as the assassin. And the assassin would see how these guys would treat me. And which would just make him more mad, and he would beat on them even more. But I don't know, he just took a liking to me, and I wrestled him. Like they put me versus him, thinking that I was just going to get my shit kicked in, because he wouldn't give none of them guys barely anything. He gave me a lot. I mean, of course, he still pinned me at the end, but he gave me a whole bunch. And then my buddy, the Avalanche, Roy Penrod, me and him would hang out before the shows. He was my first match, and June 24th is my birthday, and he gave me a lot during my first match. But the first guy who actually gave me, I hate that word actually, I hate saying that, but the guy who gave me like the biggest pump up, his name was Chuck Mesenroe, and he was going as Gary the King Lawler, and he looked just like Jerry the King Lawler. But he was the one who said, "Hey, you're not going to be anything if you don't ever get anything in the ring." So for some reason, there was a kendo stick there, and he told me to wear his ass out with that kendo stick, and I did. And next week after that, some of the guys started giving me, let me do more stuff to them, and it just kept going until finally, here I am today, Mad Man Pondo. And I just ate dinner with all them back wrestlers, and every one of them, while we was eating, just kept repeating that we knew WWE or WWF and WCW was never your dream. We knew that Japan was always your dream, and they'd be like, "How many times you been?" And I've been 49 times there and back. So
Holy shit.
I think that's a dream come true right there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you think that you're a bigger, like, I guess, do they look at you as a, I guess, bigger star in Japan than maybe you get as credit that you should get credit here in the States?
When I'm in Japan, you got to realize that Japan is just an island.
Yeah.
The United States is 50 states, 51 states, yeah. 50 states, whatever. And Japan is an island, and they have this thing called Samurai TV. And it plays 20, well, it did. I don't know if it still does, but it back in the day, it was 24 hours. So the people of that island, we're talking Sapporo, Osaka, Okinawa, Yokohama, Tokyo, are watching this. It's kind of like our info commercials. When there's nothing else on, people will find something to watch. Yeah. So with Samurai TV being 24 hours, that would be a lot of people's go-to. Well, they would see me on there, and on that island, like I've gotten free meals in restaurants. I've gotten a lot of stuff here too, don't get me wrong, but I've had cab drivers pull over to ask me if I need a ride somewhere. I'm like, oh no, I don't have money. And they're like, no. Mad Man Pondo, come on,
yeah.
There in Tokyo, it's not as bad, but I do understand how celebrities can get tired of when they're trying to eat a meal and somebody's wanting to talk to you or take a picture of you and stuff like that. That's because of the island of Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. That I guess sometimes they don't realize that they're invading your space and stuff like that. But
yeah. And if it wasn't for them, there would be no wrestling. There'd be no Mad Man Pondo. So I do take the time, and I'll take a picture. I'll put my fork down and take a picture or sign an autograph. But in my mind, I'm like, damn, dude, I'm trying to eat a meal. You know?
I'm eating, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got at least have that common decency, but some people they don't get it. I seen earlier today, John McEnroe, the tennis player.
Yeah.
He was, I guess, in Australia, and he was walking through an airport, and this guy was just trying to take a selfie with him so bad, and McEnroe kept telling him, like, no, dude, just leave me alone. He didn't want to take the picture with him, and the guy just kept proceeding, and McEnroe kept getting more and more pissed. He was stopping and trying to change directions. I'm like, dude, like, at what point are you going to let it go if the man doesn't want to take a picture with you? Like, what are you going to get out of that? Who are you going to show and be like, look at this picture I got with him when he was telling me to go fuck myself and didn't want to do it. Like, what do you gain out of that? So
I just saw Flea. I just saw Flea in the airport in Japan.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Red Hot Chili Peppers like super fan, but it's Flea, right? So I walked over and I had my camera out. I had I had it ready to go, and I said, "Excuse me, Flea, can I get a selfie?" And he looked right over at his dudes, and his dudes got in between us and was like, no pictures, you know. But I just don't understand that mentality in somebody. But Melissa Morissette and the Foo Fighters, I saw them in the airport, and Foo Fighters gave me tickets to their show. Melissa Morissette was more than happy to take a selfie with me. You know, it's just whoever you meet and what attitude and what they're feeling that day.
Yeah. Sometimes it really depends on that day, I guess. You don't know really what they're going through, but at the end of the day, like you said, if they're your fans and you feel like they helped get you to where you're at, it's like you should still kind of give them your time, unless they're being rude, like that guy I was describing. It's like you ain't got time for that shit. But so how do you feel like the independent scene has changed from today compared to before, like social media?
Social media?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an easy one. So I started in '89. Social media back then was wrestling magazines or tape trading. Do you know what tape trading is?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that was your advertisement for yourself back then. Then when the internet came out, back in first video game being Oregon Trail, things, there was Angel Fire and people started making their own web pages and shit like that, which got things out there a little bit more. Then MySpace hit. MySpace helped so many people out back in the day with putting wrestling flyers and being able to talk to promoters in other areas. Well, now you can put, I want to see Slack hit 3 old people in the head with a fish, and AI will make that for you, so many things over the years. But this is Jim Cornette's my friend, but here's something that he hasn't realized that I have. If you do not evolve with wrestling, you might as well get the fuck out of wrestling, because it's just so different. But it's whether you feel it's changed for the good or the bad, it's changing, and it's going to change again. 36 years, I've watched it change probably 4 or 5 times. You either get along with it or you don't get along with it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things, like you just said, you either adapt or die, basically, because it's going to either chew you up and spit you out, because it's going to keep doing what it does, and there's really nothing you can do about the change, and you have to evolve with it.
Yeah, true statement.
Yeah. Do you think maybe, like, I guess since you're talking about tape trading, is that how you sort of got involved in like the deathmatch scene, or got exposed to it? Yeah,
exactly. So my parents, they had one of the one of the first satellites in our hometown, one of those big old things out in the front yard, bigger than a Volkswagen, that you had to turn to get to the right signal for what you wanted to watch. And so I had all types of wrestling. I had VCR and I had that. Wrestling Review magazine used to give you addresses for people who wanted to tape trade. And then, are you familiar with what dirt sheets are?
Yes.
The dirt sheets would give you addresses of people who wanted to trade videotapes with other people in other countries. And I got a hold of a Masanaga versus Mr. Pogo compilation videotape, and it was just like my grandparents back in the day. I was so amazed at what I was watching. I remember I can't even tell you how many times I rewound Mr. Pogo blowing fire and catching Mr. Masanaga's hair on fire. And this never happened with any other videotape that I ever had, but I watched that videotape so many times I wore it out to where it wouldn't play anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to buy another one off of Feinstein, which was shitty quality, but I still watched it anyway. But what I was doing was I was evaluating what these guys were doing, and I told myself, shit, I can do this. So Wrestling Mad Man Pondo was like, yeah, I'm going to switch over to this shit and see if this doesn't help me get a little known. Then during those tape trading days, I did the truck stop match in New Jersey. They called it the Four Corners of Pain, but the stuff was not in the corners; it's on the sides. But it was barbed wire glass, thumbtacks, and mouse traps, and that blew up in the magazines. We're talking about a 4-page spread. Then it kept making other magazines, and then next thing I knew, promoters started getting a hold of me. So that was the social media back then: tape trading and magazines.
Do you feel like when you got that first death match and it exposed you to it, it was, I guess, way different than anything you've seen here in the States, right?
Not that first death match, but Dennis Carluzzo, who ran NWA out of Philadelphia back then, he was pretty influential on these wrestling magazine people. Like he would, because a lot of those photographers were from Philly or California or, the bigger cities, not Louisville, Kentucky. There wasn't that many here. Not Ohio, not St. Louis. Well, St. Louis maybe, but there was a lot of them photographers that made in magazines out of Philadelphia. And that's where that truck stop match was. And that's how that made so many magazines.
What do you think's the biggest misconception about deathmatch wrestlers?
I'll tell you, I have met comedy wrestlers. I've met technical wrestlers. I've met luchadors. To me, the most friendliest guys in the business are the deathmatch guys, and that's not on purpose. Like, for some reason, we're the nicest.
Really is true.
Yeah. But what was the question? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, what do you think's the biggest misconception about deathmatch wrestlers?
So you will never hear me hate on other genres of wrestling. I know other genres of wrestling creates revenue for a promoter. If you ever watch my old company, IWA East Coast, we had a little bit of all that shit on every show. We had comedy, we had lucha, we had technical, we had strong style. Whatever I put together was for everybody's liking that would come to the show. but you get the technical, you know, and a lot of it is Jim Cornette. A lot of them follow Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette hates deathmatch wrestling. I totally fucking get it. Al Snow hates hates deathmatch wrestling. I totally get it. Here's the thing, though. I would never hate on anybody else's wrestling because I know somebody out there is a fan of it. There's somebody out there a fan of, I mean, shit. Me and Jake Manning ran $5 wrestling for I can't tell you how long. There was fans of that, you know. It's just like everything else. Football, people likes this football team over this football team. Baseball, people likes this baseball team over this baseball team.
Yeah, I think when you put it that way, like, you know, if you were to say, well, I hate Lucha Libre, and it's like, well, why? Because, you know, like you said, they make revenue. There's a promoter. There's a market for it. It'd be the same thing as like someone say, well, I hate deathmatch wrestling. It's like, well, why though? It's the same thing as saying you like any certain. Yeah, when you look at it that way, it's definitely interesting.
And here is my biggest beef with haters of deathmatch wrestling. I don't like gay porn. Therefore, I do not watch gay porn. I don't like opera. I don't like opera videos, so I don't watch opera videos. If you don't like deathmatch wrestling, change the channel. Watch something different. Why spend your energy watching deathmatch wrestling so you can get on that keyboard and hate on things? You know, I that's something I'll never understand in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I feel like it's always the most loneliest, or the ones that don't even actually support shows or any company. They just, like you said, sit behind the keyboard, and that's as far as their reach goes, because they're miserable, so they project that out into the world. But the people who really support, really go out there and really, you know, are about it, you don't have much of that, you know, not in real life. It's like, yeah. So speaking of deathmatch, what kind of pain do you feel like lasts with you long after matches? I'm sure you're in a constant sort of pain that you're able to have, you know, you can tolerate, but I'm sure after all these years, like you said, 30 plus years in the business, there's a pain that probably lasts, you know, throughout.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky that stupidity's on my side and I don't feel things like other people do. But if I get a cut on my hand, if a thumbtack goes in my hand, or I get a little cut on my hand and I got to grab something and I hit it right on there, that's my biggest pain.
Yeah.
Not the big slices on my arms or my back or my stomach. It's always just those little cuts on the hands that's the worst.
the little minute little cuts. You're like, God damn it.
That's it. Exactly.
Is there one match that you're proud of that you think doesn't get as much recognition?
Well, there's a reason it doesn't get much recognition. It got recorded, but never released. It was 2015, me versus Terry Funk for the Juggalo Championship Wrestling belt, and I won the belt off of Terry Funk. There's no like professional DVD release of it. 2 or 3 Juggalos recorded it. Some of it's just clips. But I feel that match, just because it's me beating Terry Funk, should be out there a lot more.
Yeah, it's definitely anything with Terry Funk is definitely a classic.
Through that.
Is there a moment that, you know, you've been in the ring where you thought maybe this could truly be it, or your time was over wrestling?
So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this. So I'm 56 years old, which makes Mad Man Pondo 36 years old, and I've only spent one overnight in the hospital. Matthew Justice jumped down off the balcony, breaking and knee first into my ribs, breaking 3 and 4, sending 4 not poking a hole, but ripping a hole in my lung, causing it to collapse. And I still went back to the ring and did 7 minutes of picking up mat, swinging stop signs, swinging sledgehammers, and then went to the hospital, which I think puts me in the bad motherfuckers club.
Yeah.
But even after that, all I kept thinking to myself was, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to wrestle for a while. The one time that I thought, oh shit, I'm never going to be able to wrestle again, my back went out. And it was taking me 20 minutes to go to the toilet. I didn't know if a back would heal good enough to where you could wrestle again. And this was, shit, I can't even remember what year it was. But yeah, that was the one time I thought, holy shit, I might not get to wrestle ever again.
I know you've lost a lot of weight recently. Do you think that is that when you kind of were you gaining weight when you had the back injury?
No, I was losing weight
No.
when I had the back injury, but I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the toilet and I sneezed while I was sitting on the toilet. I don't know if the sturdiness of the toilet, but once I sneezed, I felt something slide.
In your back, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I wiped myself off, went to stand up to pull my pants up, and couldn't. I was like, "Oh shit, what the fuck is going on?" You know, and then yeah, that was probably the scariest moment right there. All these other things, fracturing my skull, cutting my forehead, my head right here so deep that it took 17 on the outside, 24 on the inside. None of that ever deterred me from, oh, I might not ever get to wrestle again, except that when my back went out that time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that changes your whole way of life. You know what I mean? Like if you can barely move like that, it's like there's no way you could even get in the ring. So did you have to get surgery or anything, or you just were able to? Yeah.
So Sarah Logan, you know who that is? Sarah Van Holla. Me and her were dating at the time, and or no, we wasn't dating at this time. She was training with Mickey Knuckles at this time, and she took the day out of school to take me to the hospital. And I'll tell you the story. So we're sitting in that room, and of course my forehead looks like a serial killer done ate a meal off of it. Yeah. And so the doctor comes into the office and he takes one look at me, and his first words was, "How you doing? I'm Dr. Da-da-da." He's like, "I'm not going to be able to issue any pain pills today, but what would I be able to help you with?" So I told him my back was out, and he's asking me questions. And I notice he mentions again, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to administrate any pain pills, but," and then after like the 4th time he said something about pain pills, I told him, I said, "Sir, I'm not here for pain pills. Like, even if you was to give me prescriptions, I wouldn't get them filled. I don't like pills. I don't take pills. I don't want your pain pills." He goes, "You're really not here for pain pills?" And I said, "No." So he said, "Well, let me get you some x-rays." So he x-rayed my back, and he come in that doctor's office with his head sideways, and I swear this is his words. He goes, "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You have one of the worst backs I have ever seen. I have x-rayed dead people's backs that's look better than yours."
Holy
and
crap.
My first question, because I'm so stupid, I was like, "Why are you x-raying dead people's backs?"
I was just thinking that. I was like, I've never heard
that. He said, "Did you know that you fractured your spine 2 years ago?" And I said, "No, I didn't." He goes, "You didn't have any discomfort walking or anything? I'm like, not that I remember, no. And by the time I left his office, I had 3 prescriptions for pain pills, which I didn't get. I didn't, I didn't fill because I don't take pills. But if that tells you just how bad my back was at that time, it was pretty fucking bad.
You just think it was a culmination of years of just wear and tear, and it just led to finally, I guess, they couldn't take it.
You got to imagine. I mean, go over my past career of power bombs on the concrete and face first into big screen TVs and coming off of scaffolds onto barbed wire nets. I mean, it was just my time. It was finally time for my body to tell me, yo, you got to cut this shit out every once in a while. Which after I got better, I told my body just to shut up and kept on doing what I wanted to do. But I'm pretty sure it's going to happen to me again someday. But until that day, my story is not done. I don't want people to forget me after I die. So I probably should have retired a long time ago. And if I hadn't retired, I shouldn't be taking suplexes off of scaffolding through 2 panes of glass to the floor. I shouldn't be
Mr. Danger bump, right?
Yeah.
DCW, that was crazy. Crazy, man.
Younger people shouldn't be doing that. 56 years old should not be doing that. But like I said, I just don't want my story to end. I want to keep on going, and who knows what's coming next? What's the next best thing for me? Things just keep happening. I'm on 2 video games for Xbox and PlayStation. 3 video games, sorry. I did a movie with Robert Englund. I wrote 2 books. I did a speech in between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Just things just keep happening. And how do I know they're going to stop now? So I just got to keep on going and keep that story of Mad Man Pondo alive.
Absolutely. Who do you feel like brought the best out of you as a performer?
A guy named George Winecroft, which in my mind is an ICW legend. You might have to search him, but he was legally blind, but he was still professional wrestling. Sat me down one day and asked me if I was ever going to lift weights, and I said no. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to tell you, if you're refusing to lift weights, you're going to have to make a statement every match you do. Every match you do, you're going to have to leave that arena with something for somebody to remember you by." And that always stuck in there. I always remembered that. And I kept that with me my whole career and always did something that I thought people would remember. So there's that. Me and him don't get along anymore, but there would be no Mad Man Pondo without Ian Rotten, who took me on the road. Well, let's go even before him. There was another guy named Del Man. My first year into wrestling, I was already touring. I was already on the road with wrestling. Del Man had all these Indian reservations. I was going to North Dakota, South Dakota. I mean, I can't even remember all the areas, but my first year I was already touring, which to me helps wrestlers. Just the memories and the stories, but being in different areas and different crowds, to me, to this day, I say wrestling schools are great and they teach you a lot, but your best teacher is the road.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Del Man. That was Ian Rotten. ICP, when they hired me, I would see them tell other people what to do in their matches. Me, they would be like, Pondo, just go be Pondo. Yeah. So just so many things that helped me over the years. And I'm sure I'm forgetting 100 people who helped me, but the main ones I just said.
For sure. You mentioned the video game. How were you first approached about getting into the backyard wrestling game?
I was at one of the gathering of the Juggalos. I can't remember which one it was, but it was on the inside, which tells you how many years ago that was. And Kevin Gill was sitting at the bar, and he saw me walking back and forth, and he called me over. And I don't even drink alcohol, but he started buying drinks, and I was with my Asian fiance at the time, and she drank alcohol. Therefore, Kevin Gill would buy me one drink, and I would nurse the shit out of that as long as she got the drink, right? And while we was doing that, Kevin Gill told me he was there to put a bunch of us in a video game. And you hear so much shit in professional wrestling, you never know what to believe. But he said, we definitely want to get ICP. We definitely want to get Sabu. And our fourth choice, we definitely want to get Mad Man Pondo. I'm like, all right, just let me know. Let me know when this ever goes, not thinking that it ever would. And then, sure enough, backyard wrestling, don't, there goes the neighborhood. Or don't try this at home. The first one's don't try this at home. I'm the main boss, which shows me that Kevin Gill had a plan for me in the first video game. And then the second one came out. We put our voices in it. And me, Josh Prohibition, and M-Dog, we went to Japan we went to England to their IDOS company to promote the game. Then me, M-Dog, Nate Webb as El Drunko, Supreme, and Kevin Gill went to Japan, and we promoted the video game. So I'm telling you, man, to this day, I'm still autographing copies of the video game, or the biggest line that I get was, man, I used to whip your ass back in the day all the time. And I already know what they're talking about. I'm like, the video game. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to love that game back in the day. It definitely changed the, normal video games like, the Raw versus SmackDown or whatever else was out there. You got to play the, the backyard, and like you said, go against Pondo and, have all these different, obscure guys in there that you wouldn't normally get to, use in the video game.
Right.
How involved were you with it? You were just kind of like, once it was done, then they were like, hey, look at this. And then, I guess, did you make any money off of it at all, or any residual money off of it? Yeah.
Plenty of money off of it. But not only Japan and England, but they rented a mansion. And this is before Airbnbs were even created. They rented a mansion off this guy and put a ring out in his front yard. And we started breaking light tubes out there, and he started throwing a fucking fit, And then E3, do you know what E3 is? Where
it's like the video game convention.
Yes. I got invited to E3, and I wrestled at E3 with Kevin Gill's backyard wrestling advertisement. And then for part 2, there was a release party with Zandig and New Jack. And, so yeah, I did a lot for that video game. The video game treated me good, and I treated it good. Then later on, me and Two Tough Tony's in Japan, and Fire Pro Returns comes out. And the thing with what Fire Pro Wrestling does with their video games is they will create a wrestler that looks exactly like you, but they will name it something else. Mm-hmm. That way they don't have to pay you. And me and Tony was both like, shit, tell us where to sign. We don't want money. We just want to be on the game, So that's how I made it on 3 video games.
Yeah. I mean, at least you probably get, all the exposure that you get out of that creates more fans just out of that, you may not have got anything off of that, but in some form or fashion you did, with, gaining more people, fans, eyeballs towards you.
I have zero big company TV notoriety. I did 1 2-minute job match for TNA, which I screwed the other wrestlers out of my appearance in a way. I'll tell you that story if you want to hear it.
Yeah, how's that?
I was a Rosebud 3 times, because I was with Sarah, and then Violent J used to talk about me on WCW. But for TNA, they brought me and Nate Webb, and it was supposed to be Chris Hero, and we was like Ian's 3 top whatevers at the time. Well, they brought us in and they put us versus 3 live crew, excuse me, which was Conan, Ron Killings, and Road Dogg.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going over, so first they said, okay, you guys are going to have 5 minutes. And then they said, okay, you guys are going to have 3 minutes. And then they said, Conan's going to get on the mic. I think you guys are going to have about 2 minutes. Now, Nate Webb, he was going week after week, and he didn't mind. He was getting his little TV notoriety. But to me, TV notoriety, if you're just getting your ass stomped week after week after week, just weakens what people think about you. So I knew that we only had this 2 minutes. Chris Hero no-show. They put another guy out there with us. I failed to remember what his name was. We get in the ring, and the minute I get in the ring, I've wrestled in Tennessee I don't know how many times. I hear fans chanting my name. Not a bunch, maybe 8 or 9, but they're chanting Pondo, and I'm like, damn it, dude. Now the plan is for 3 live crew to get in, beat us out, and then Conan does his let me speak on this, and then we get back in to try to attack them, and each one of them does their finish to us. So they got in the ring. I watched Nate and the other guy. I think I took a punch and got out. The one guy, I can't remember, got in there. Conan did his finish. Nate Webb got in there. Ron Killings did his finish. I went on to the back. I was already almost to the dressing room when Road Dogg was supposed to get his finish on me, but I knew nobody was getting a job out of that shit. So, and Road Dogg would come back there and he was like, brother, you were supposed to get in the ring. I'm like, oh man, I totally forgot. I'm sorry. We talked about that since, but he was like, yeah, you was probably one of the smart ones.
Yeah. Because you realize, well, shit, if this ain't gonna get me a job, then I might as well save whatever value I have left, and
Right. Yeah. And I probably would have stayed out there if I didn't hear them fans chanting my name, but that showed me that someday a show that I was booked on, they was just going to get me watch me get my ass stomped. So I'll just go to the locker room.
So I know you mentioned that you did some work as a Rosebud with WWE. It surprises me. So you never were contacted like in the late WWF days to do any like dark matches or anything like that for them ever?
There was these 2 guys, the War Machines, and they were doing jobs for WWF back in the day. I remember the main event of this Raw. The Raw came to Evansville, Indiana, and the main event was Roddy Piper versus Adrian Adonis. So that tells you how long ago this was.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. That might have been a show that I went to see at the Robert State. Anyway, these 2 guys, the War Machines, they got me. They said, hey, do you want to do a show for WWE? They'll give you $500. I had no interest in going to WWE, but the $500 and my Camaro that needed some work done on it. Yes, okay, I will come in. So we're sitting in the back, and everybody is buff to the hilt, and I look like Bobby on King of the Hill, you know. So they're going down the aisle, and they're like, "Okay, we need you over here, you over here, you over here." They took one look at me, and they said, "You can go to catering." And then you. So they gave me an envelope, and this is back when they was paying $500. I've done extra work with Sarah since then, $200, but back then it was a $500 envelope, and $500 in your envelope,
whether you
cash
worked or not.
free. Yeah, tax free. So I went to Evansville and got to eat catering for $500. And then once I found out I wasn't working, I didn't stay for the show. I ate my meal. I might have grabbed a styrofoam thing and grabbed a few of them steaks on my way out, allegedly, and got my $500 envelope and went home.
Hell yeah! Hey,
Yeah.
gotta do what you gotta do, right?
And then Sarah, she was going to a bunch of the WWE tryouts, and she was more or less told, "Hey, we're giving you a job. Just, maintain these extras for right now." So we were going all over the place just to keep her face in front of everybody. To the Florida ones, we went to the she went to the St. Louis ones. We went to the Chicago ones. We went to the anyway. We went to the Memphis, Tennessee ones, and I dropped. My deal was I didn't give a shit about WWE. I didn't want to go watch. So I would watch because I get to see Sarah in the ring, but you're there all day, and then you gotta sit for what is it, a 3-hour Raw just to watch one piece of that Raw. So after a while, I didn't really care about going to them anymore. And I dropped Sarah off, and I went back to the hotel, and I'm sitting there watching a movie, and I get a call on the telephone, on the hotel telephone, and they said, "Hey, we need extras, and we're told that you're in town. Would you be willing to come down and help us out with that?" And I remember even saying, "Well, I'm watching a movie, you know." And they're like, "No, we really do. We need you. We'll give you 200 to show up, and then we'll give you a 200 check in the mail." I was like, "Well, fuck." I know the deal because I was dropping Sarah off. You got to be decked out, dressed in nice dresses. The guys have to be in suits. And I told him, I said, "Guys, I'm going to tell you before I even leave this room, I'm in a pair of shorts and a Texas Chainsaw Massacre t-shirt." And they said, "We don't care. We need you."
We need a body.
So, yeah. So I got down there, and do you watch Raw at all?
Not anymore. I mean, I see like the highlights and stuff like that, but not like we used to.
What they had done was, the storyline was a whole bunch of security guards pushed Dean Ambrose, John Moxley in a room, and then all the extras was outside the door. Well, then later on, Moxley was walking around, and some wrestlers were like, "Hey, how'd you get out of that room?" He says, "There was a door in the back." But they had all their extras in front of that door, so they needed Rosebuds to catch Adam Rose's trust fall. So the minute I got there, if you watch me on the TV, I still have my Texas Chainsaw Massacre t-shirt on. I still have shorts on, but they put a sombrero and one of the Mexican like blanket things on me.
Okay.
I can't
like
remember what they call it.
Poncho, I think. Like a poncho.
Yeah. They put a sombrero, but the important part was they covered my clothes up with a poncho.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay any likeness fees or anything for that, I'm sure.
and then I did it 2 more times for the $200 check. I figured if I'm dropping Sarah off, I might as well make the $200. And then And then Sarah got hired and dumped me like yesterday's news. And then I didn't do any more extra work. But yeah, for what it was fun, you know. But I remember the Memphis. One of the rules was you cannot interact with any of the bigger stars. So I'm walking through catering. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are like, Pondo coming over hugging me, and I know that they're watching us.
You're like, damn it.
Yeah. Cesaro, Pondo, what's up? You know, and then Paulie Dangerously is like, Pondo, what's going on? You're an extra. And then a cool thing was like the other extras, because I wasn't dressed in a suit, and I guess they thought that I was better than them. And I am I'm being shunned by the other extras. Like they don't want to have shit to do with me. But then they see all these other wrestlers like, hey, Pondo. Well, one of the segments was Adam Rose and the Bunny, and they're sitting there figuring out what they're going to do that day. And the Bunny was Sami Zayn that day. And so they're sitting there conversating. And about that time, somebody puts me in a work headlock and gives me some work punches. And I stand up, it's Moxley. And he's like, Pondo, what's up, man? And we sit there and we have like a 5-minute conversation. And this is when Dean Ambrose didn't talk to anybody back there. So all these extras are like, holy shit, you know? Yeah. And I'm just talking to him and not even thinking about it. And Sarah shoves her fingernail in my back. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is my girlfriend, Sarah, you know. But after that, all those extras wanted something to do with me. And by then I knew what they was about. I was like, you know what? Fuck you guys. And just did my job. And
yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I was just about to ask you when you mentioned Moxley walked by. I was like, I wonder, like, did any of the guys like approach you or realize, hey, this is fucking Mad Man Pondo over here doing extra work right now, like, you know? And then you said you're not supposed to approach them, so by them coming to you, it's like, oh, like, what's up, guys? But at the same time, everybody else is like, what the fuck's he doing? You know?
I didn't care about myself.
Yeah.
But I knew Sarah was getting ready to get a job, and I knew that they knew that I was there with Sarah. So I'm telling these guys, I'm like, hey, guys, go sit down. Go sit down. You know?
They want to mess things up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about your comedy career, because a lot of people don't know that you do comedy work. How did you get started with that?
I just one day decided, you know what? It would be nice to have something to fall back on in case I couldn't wrestle anymore. I'm getting people laughing, and I'm getting rooms full to come see me. But man, I'm gonna tell you right now, there is way bigger babies in comedy than there ever was in professional wrestling, and that's saying something, because there's some.
I can't imagine.
There's some huge crybabies in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
There's bigger crybabies in comedy. So I would go to this place, and I was filling the room because people wanted to come see me. And the other comics was getting pissed at me because I was filling the room. They're like, well, we want to learn in front of smaller crowds. And the guy running the place was like, are you fucking nuts? This is paying the bills here. You leave that guy alone, you know? And the other comedians would make fun of me on their sets. And I would show up sometimes, and they wouldn't put me on the shows because my shit's dirty, and maybe some of them are hipster liberals who don't like that I'm getting laughs saying shit. Either way, I'm not going to say I'm bragging on myself, but yeah, man, I don't know about comedy either, just because of that fact.
That's what I was going to ask. So what's harder, to make people laugh or make people react in a wrestling match?
I mean, if you ever been around me, I'm pretty good at making people laugh and enjoy doing that. So making people laugh to me comes pretty easy. Like even from grade school on, you know, I was always out to make people laugh. I got voted.
I was just saying, but that's a little bit different feeling than performing a show, right? Because you may be funny amongst, everyone, but like when you're up there, it feels like, oh man, if things don't feel like, you might feel like you're bombing or something like that in front of all these people at some extent. Maybe you don't, but I'm sure it happens.
I will say that the only drug that I have ever been on and stayed on is crowd reaction while I'm professional wrestling. That's the only thing that's addicted.
Adrenaline, yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
All right, go ahead. We're back.
All right. I apologize about the technical difficulties.
No
so this guy, John Cosper, was writing a book called the Bluegrass Brawlers, and he put a little section of me in there. And a whole bunch of people came to him and said, "Hey, if you got Pondo in your book, you should write a book of stories." So the guy's name's John Cosper, and he kept asking me, "Hey, do you want to do a book with me?" And I kept saying no, because I didn't think anybody really wanted to have anything. Nobody thinks anybody wants to hear what they have to say. And finally, John Cosper was such a nice guy, and he kept talking about, let's do this book. So finally, I was like, okay, let's do the book. And we did the book, and we have sold boxes and boxes of them things, man. It's just unreal to me how many people want to know what I had to say. But I haven't had any complaints about the book. People say, that they read it in my voice. They say they have laughed out loud at places. And I just put everything into this book. Good stories, bad stories, embarrassing stories. I wanted people to know that my book was about a real person, and that's me. So if you want to know, and Seiyazawa out of Japan wrote the book cover. I don't know if you know who that is, but he does a lot of the deathmatch guys.
Yeah.
He does a lot. He drew the book cover for me. And if you want to get a copy of that, you can go right now to Amazon.com, or you can go to visitdeadpark.com and get an autographed copy of the book. There's the QVC code right there.
Yep.
And so this time I had a whole lot of downtime in Japan. I spent 9 months in Japan, and I had a Japanese fiance who would go to work, and I would be at her apartment by myself. So a friend of mine, Christina Harvey, got her Facebook hacked, and she had pictures of her husband who had passed away, and family memories, and wrestling stories on there. And I thought to myself how terrible that would be, because she had to start her Facebook all over with a whole different Facebook. And I thought to myself how terrible that would be. But then I got the idea to write the second book. It's called Pondo versus the Horror Icons. And it's about me meeting all the horror icons that I've met over the years. Robert Englund, Gunnar Hansen, Kane Hodder, Nick Castle. I just said Freddie, Jason, Leatherface, and Michael Myers right there. Linda Blair, The Exorcist, Tony Todd, the Candyman. I put good experiences, bad experiences, and tons of pictures. And I hope everybody gives this book a try, because it's like nothing I've ever read, so I want people to give it a try. And it doesn't have a release date, but it has a release year, 2026. It will be released. But It's called Pondo versus the Horror Icons. And again, if you want the first one or the second one later on, that you can get that at Amazon.com, or you can go to visitdeadpark.com and ask for an autographed copy from John Cosper.
Yep.
Hey, I don't mean to rush you off. I got this guy going to buy me a meal. But after the second book, comes out, can we come back on and do this again?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind, we'll end it on one question if that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So if a fan discovers Mad Man Pondo for the first time 20 years from now, what do you want them to understand about you immediately?
Let me go really in depth with this for you. So I have this huge fear of being forgotten after I die. What's the biggest factory in your area that is working today?
Probably, honestly, my area is probably like Amazon or something like that.
Okay.
Procter and
Imagine.
Gamble.
Okay. Amazon and Procter and Gamble. Imagine how many employees both those factories have. Now, you can be the best. You can be the best packer. You can be the best janitor that's sweeping the floor. But after a while, family will remember you in pictures, but people will start forgetting about you. So this is what I plan to do. There's a place near me. It's Concrete Lady, and they sell this 5-foot huge concrete gorilla. I'm gonna let that be my headstone. All right. I want that to be my headstone because you've been to the graveyard. Everybody's been to the graveyard to visit a family member, and you always have to search down the aisles. Nobody's going to have to search for me. They're going to drive to that graveyard. It's going to be a big concrete gorilla, and they're going to go, oh, that's where Pondo's buried right there. Then, either on his chest or at his feet, I want to have the plaque that says Kevin Kennedy, Mad Man Pondo, 1969 to 2056. I don't know. That's just wishful thinking there. But and then I want it to have its own QVC code. That way people can go over and click on it and read about me. Because people who's going to want to see my headstone, they're going to go to that graveyard and they'll be able to find it. People who don't know me are going to go over to this giant concrete gorilla to find out what's going on, and they will click on that that code to see me and read about me. On that placard, I want it to have a skull and crossbones on it. Not only is that my monarch for my wrestling boots, but people's going to look at that and go, this guy must have been an evil motherfucker to have a skull and crossbone. And then more stories will start about me. I don't want to have a funeral. I do not want people sitting around crying or instead, I want people to either rent or whatever, but I want them to watch the movie Dumb and Dumber because that is the funniest movie that I have ever seen. And you can watch it and laugh about shit that you have watched already if you've already seen Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, yeah.
I want people to not, but I don't want people to cry about my death. I want people to remember the funny shit or the cool shit that I did and have a good time. So watching Dumb and Dumber would be a pretty good thing. And then, of course, to keep my name alive, if people wants to cut Big Gorilla and put a plastic skull from Walmart or anything at the feet of my headstone, that will also keep my name alive. How's that? Is that a good answer for you?
Hey, that's awesome. And I appreciate you for sharing that because that was definitely some in-depth, thought out, you definitely, you know what you want. So, Madman Pondo, I appreciate you for coming by and blazing at the bingo hall. Until next time, love to have you back. And I appreciate you, like I said, for stopping by. And go check out the book. You can scan the QR code right there. It'll take you right to the website. Until then, Madman Pondo, see you at the bingo hall.
Peace out, motherfuckers.
Peace.